Like a serpent, the river Nile makes its way through the heart of Egypt, its current murmuring the secrets of a civilization that had once been great all over the world. As the Nile winds along the banks, into the cool shadows cast beside towering pyramids and across golden sands, there came a woman whose name the world would remember through the centuries, not just as a queen, but as a mistress of life, a diplomat, a seductress, and a legend. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt. But who was she really? Underneath the gilded fables and Hollywood allure lies a record of power, betrayals, and second chances that verges on the fantastic, not to say that it isn't fiction. Hers was a life interwoven with ambition, scheming, threaded with the survival of turbulent times. To understand Cleopatra is to enter a realm where politics and passion often intermingle, and sometimes the latter proves even more dangerous to the former's driving engines. A lady who defied many expectations of her time, Cleopatra, was a ruler who negotiated the turbulent seas of power with a mixture of intellect, charm, and sheer-willed effort. Her story is not one of historical significance alone. It is a tale of human ambition, one that will be done to protect what one holds dear. Alexandria, 48 BCE. It is a vibrant, cosmopolitan city, the greatest in the entire ancient world. The city itself holds within its rather decadent, swarming streets most knowledgeable traders, scholars, and serving soldiers. It also contains the world's most famous beacon of learning, the Library of Alexandria. But tension is in the air. Egypt is standing on the edge of collapse, a throne fought over by siblings, its treasury looted through corruption. Into this chaos steps the 21-year-old Cleopatra. But she's not an ordinary ruler. A mistress of 9 languages, she was serious in the study of mathematics and philosophy, cold strategic with nerves of iron because she understood that to live, she had to do much more than simply reign. She had to continually reinvent herself. It's her intelligence and charisma that set her apart, but it's her adaptability that makes her truly formidable. She is a queen who knows that power is not only a matter of crowns and thrones, it is about perception, alliances, and the art of survival. These were no doubt furthered under the brutal realities of Ptolemaic politics, which had family members as much as the rivals as they were allies. The latter's father, Ptolemy the Fiend, had labored to maintain Egypt's independence in the face of a rapidly encroaching Rome, and Cleopatra picked lessons from both his successes and failures. By the time she came to the throne, Cleopatra knew she wanted to be a player, not a pawn in someone else's game. Her first act of reinvention? A memorable escape. Betrayed by her brother, the boy king Ptolemy III, who seeks to take the throne for himself, Cleopatra is literally chased out of Alexandria. But she doesn't run off to some foreign palace to hide from her enemies. No, she sought refuge in the desert among a band of mercenary ruffians and planned her comeback. And in some of the things that make Cleopatra Cleopatra, she would a bit later in that return make a signature of her finest weaknesses, and some notably Julius Caesar, who was at that moment unarguably the most powerful man in Rome and who came to Alexandria. She knew she had to get to it, so she had herself carried into his quarters, enfolded in a carpet one can only savor that scene. Caesar unrolling the carpet to have Cleopatra walk out, not like a chased rabbit but like a queen, exuding that timeless confidence and charm. In that moment of unalloyed theatrical genius, it does the trick. He is hooked. Much more than a turning point in their personal relationship, it was a political masterclass from Cleopatra. In presenting herself, she was no beggar for his mercy, but his equal, a partner who would command Caesar's level of respect and attention. Her temerity was rewarded. Caesar was impressed with both her daring and her intelligence. He agreed to back her claim to the throne, and together they defeated Ptolemy XIII. For a while, Cleopatra recovered her crown. But this is only the beginning of the story of such a woman. But his Cleopatra was a far cry from a love-stricken courtesan or an ambitious queen. After his return from Rome in 47 BCE, she meets him in Tarsus, and it becomes one of the greatest meetings in history. She arrives at the Tarsus meeting on a fantastic golden barge, dressed as the goddess of love, with Antony already being quite notorious for his incredible showmanship. There he fell in more than lifelong love with her, and there they became partners in an alliance that, too, seemed to defy death. There they dreamed their imperialistic dreams of a world ordered by Cleopatra as Queen of the East and Antony as King of the West. They threw their orgies, celebrated their love quite publicly, and even formed their own little social club, the inimitable Livers, to pursue their mutual ethic of the fullest life. But those were dreams built on sand. Rome was watching their association uneasily, and more particularly Octavian used Antony's relationship with Cleopatra to destroy him in the eyes of Rome. It was a time when the political atmosphere in Rome was highly volatile, and his being linked with Cleopatra became a source of great embarrassment. The Senate declared war on Cleopatra, portraying it as a battle against an alien queen who had debauched one of Rome's greatest generals. The final act of Cleopatra's story is both tragic and triumphant. As Rome turns against Antony, accusing him of betraying his people for a foreign queen, the couple faces their greatest challenge. The Battle of Actium in 31 BCE is a disaster. Antony's forces are defeated, and he and Cleopatra flee to Alexandria. But even in defeat, Cleopatra's cunning shines. She tries to negotiate with Octavian, Caesar's heir and the future Emperor Augustus, but he has no interest in diplomacy. He wants Egypt, and he wants Cleopatra humiliated. Faced with the prospect of being paraded through Rome as a trophy, Cleopatra makes her final devastating choice. On August 12, 30 BCE, Cleopatra takes her own life. The method? A bite from an asp, a symbol of divine royalty. It's a death as dramatic and enigmatic as her life. With her, the last flicker of Egypt's independence dies. But Cleopatra's legacy endures. She wasn't just a queen, she was a master of reinvention, a woman who used her intellect, her charm, and her unyielding will to navigate a world dominated by men. She played the highest-stakes game of power the ancient world had ever seen, and though she ultimately lost, her story has never been forgotten. Her death marked the end of an era, but it also cemented her place in history as a figure of unparalleled complexity and intrigue. So, was Cleopatra a seductress, a schemer, or a savior? Perhaps she was all three. But above all, she was a survivor, a woman who refused to be defined by the limits of her time. Her life reminds us that history isn't just about dates and battles. It's about the people who shape the world, who dare to dream bigger than the world allows. She wasn't just a queen, she was a master of reinvention, a woman who used her intellect, her charm, and her unyielding will to navigate a world dominated by men. She played the highest-stakes game of power the ancient world had ever seen, and though she ultimately lost, her story has never been forgotten. Her death marked the end of an era, but it also cemented her place in history as a figure of unparalleled complexity and intrigue. So, was Cleopatra a seductress, a schemer, or a savior? Perhaps she was all three, but above all, she was a survivor, a woman who refused to be defined by the limits of her time. Her life reminds us that history isn't just about dates and battles. It's about the people who shape the world, who dare to dream bigger than the world allows.